Jack stood at the edge of the graveyard, the weight of the world pressing down on him. The cold wind brushed against his face, but it did nothing to cool the fire in his chest. His heart ached as his eyes lingered on the gravestone before him. Emily's name was etched in the stone, a name that had once been so full of life and laughter, but now stood as a symbol of loss. He had told himself he would be strong today. He had told himself that he would finally let go, that this was the final goodbye. But standing here now, staring at the cold stone, it felt impossible. Every memory of her flooded back, her smile, her voice, the way she had laughed at the silliest things. Emily had been more than just a partner. She had been his everything. And now she was gone. His hand trembled as he reached out to place the single flower on her grave. A white lily, her favorite. It felt so wrong, so incomplete, to say goodbye like this. They had never imagined a world without her, a world where her laugh no longer filled the room. The doctors had told him that the experiment had failed. Emily, an alien hybrid, had been caught in the crossfire of a secret government project. They had tried to merge human and alien DNA, but the risks were too great. In the end, Emily's life had been the price they paid for their ambition. Jack's fingers curled around the stem of the lily, his heart racing. A familiar pain surged in his chest as he whispered the words that had haunted him since her death. "Goodbye, Emily," he said, his voice breaking. "I never thought I would have to say it." He stood there for what felt like hours, the silence of the graveyard pressing in on him. The sound of his own breathing was the only thing that kept him grounded. And yet, even in the midst of his sorrow, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The air felt thick, heavier than it should be, and there was a strange hum, almost like a low, vibrating sound in the distance. Jack furrowed his brow. He turned his head, scanning the graveyard. The sky above was clear, but there was something unsettling about the stillness of the night. It was as if the entire world had gone silent just for him. He took a cautious step back from the grave. His eyes still locked on the stone, as if waiting for something to happen. The hum grew louder, closer now, and Jack felt his heart skip a beat. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog in his mind. "It's nothing," he muttered to himself. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. Something was happening. Something he couldn't explain. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden crack. A low, eerie sound that echoed through the air like thunder. Jack's head whipped back to Emily's grave, his breath catching in his throat. The ground beneath. The gravestone shifted, a deep rumble that shook the earth. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the grave tremble. It couldn't be. No, this was impossible. Before he could move, the gravestone cracked open, a jagged line running down the middle like a wound opening in the earth. Jack froze, his feet rooted to the spot, his mind unable to comprehend what he was seeing. The hum in the air intensified, and for a moment, the graveyard seemed to come alive with energy. Then, as if summoned by the strange force, a figure emerged from the ground. Jack's breath caught in his throat as the shape of a woman slowly rose from the earth. Her body was surrounded by an ethereal glow, the light shimmering like stardust as it danced around her. Her eyes, those familiar eyes that Jack had longed to see again, were glowing with an unnatural light, an otherworldly power emanating from her. For a moment, Jack thought he was hallucinating. His mind couldn't accept what his eyes were telling him. Emily was standing before him, alive, her body no longer cold and lifeless, but filled with an energy that seemed beyond human comprehension. Her hair, once dark and wild, now flowed like liquid silver, shimmering with an eerie light. Her skin glowed faintly, as if touched by the stars themselves. Jack's heart raced, his mind spinning. "Emily?" he whispered, his voice trembling. With disbelief, the woman Emily, or someone who looked like her, turned her head toward him. Her expression was soft, but her eyes were distant, as though she wasn't entirely present in the world around her. It was her, But it wasn't. The person standing before him was both familiar and strange, a reflection of the woman he had loved, but now forever changed. "Jack," she said, her voice a low, melodic whisper, like music carried on the wind. I'm back." But the words didn't feel real. They felt like a dream, like something he could never wake up from. Jack blinked, trying to make sense of the impossible situation. "How?" was all he could manage to say. "How is this possible?" Emily's lips parted, but she didn't immediately answer. Instead, she looked at him with a mixture of sorrow and something else, something deeper, darker. "I don't know," she said, her voice trembling. "But I'm here. And it's not just for you, Jack. There's something bigger happening. Something I don't fully understand." The air around them seemed to thrum with energy as Emily stepped forward, her presence almost overwhelming. Jack took a step back, his heart still pounding in his chest. Was this real? Was she really standing here, or was his grief finally consuming him? "Are you?" Jack began, but the question caught in his throat. "I'm not the same," she said quietly, her gaze distant. "But I am here, and I need your help." The world around them seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something to happen. Jack's mind raced. What had just occurred? How could Emily, who had been buried in the ground, now stand before him, alive? "Emily," Jack whispered, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and fear. "What is going on?" Her eyes locked onto his, and for the first time since her return, there was clarity in them. "You'll understand soon enough," she said softly. "But for now, we have little time. There's something much bigger happening, and it's coming for all of US." Jack looked at her, his heart still racing, unsure of what to believe, but knowing deep down that this was just the beginning. Jack couldn't stop staring at Emily, his mind reeling with questions. He had watched her die, held her hand as the life faded from her eyes. But now here she was, standing in front of him, as alive as the moment they first met. His heart hammered in his chest, a mix of confusion, fear, and overwhelming joy. Was this some kind of miracle or a cruel joke? "Emily," Jack whispered again, his voice cracking. "How is this possible?" Emily's gaze softened, but there was an unreadable look in her eyes, as though she was trying to remember something important, something just out of reach. She took a step closer to Jack, her movements slow, deliberate. "I don't fully understand it either," she said, her voice distant, almost haunted. "I died, Jack, but I didn't stay dead. There's something in the universe I can't explain that brought me back." Jack's mind struggled to make sense of her words. His brain kept racing back to the day she had died, to the look of finality in her eyes as the doctors confirmed what they already knew. The alien hybrid project had gone wrong, the experiment designed to create a bridge between humans and the alien race, ending in disaster. And now Emily was here, alive, and standing before him, but she wasn't the same. There was something different about her, something strange. He took a hesitant step forward, reaching out a hand as if afraid she might disappear if he touched her. But how? Why? Emily looked at his hand but didn't move to touch it. Instead, she glanced down at her own, her fingers trembling slightly. "I don't know," she said softly. "But I've changed, the process that brought me back. It wasn't just a revival. It's something else, something I don't understand yet." Jack's heart skipped. "What do you mean you're different? You don't look like you've come back the same way." Emily nodded, her silver hair shimmering faintly in the light. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself for something she wasn't ready to say. "When I died, it wasn't just my body that was gone. I was taken, Jack, not by death, but by something far greater. The alien race that created me, they have powers, technology far beyond what we could ever imagine. They brought me back, but not in the way I was before. I'm different. I feel it inside me. The power, it's growing." Jack frowned. a sense of unease creeping up his spine. The way Emily spoke, her voice filled with a quiet strength, sent chills down his back. She didn't sound like the woman he had known, not entirely. There was something in her that had changed, something darker, more alien. "Are you saying that the aliens did this?" Jack asked, trying to keep the panic out of his voice. "They brought you back?" Emily looked away, her expression pained. "It wasn't just them. It was the energy around me, the force that's connected to everything in the universe. It's like I've tapped into something, ... ancient, something older than anything I've ever known." Jack's head was spinning. He couldn't keep up with the words Emily was saying, the things she was describing. How could this be happening? He had buried her. He had seen her die. And now she was standing here, telling him she was something more, something not entirely human anymore. "Don't sound like yourself," Jack said softly, the words slipping out before he could stop them. "You're not the Emily I knew." Emily's eyes darkened for a moment, but she didn't lash out. She simply sighed, her shoulders sagging as if the weight of her new existence was too much for her to carry alone. "I'm still me, Jack. But I'm also not. I can feel it inside me, this power, this connection to something greater. It's overwhelming, and I don't know how to control it yet, but I need you to trust me." Jack looked into her eyes, seeing the familiar glimmer of the woman he loved. But something else was there too. Something he couldn't understand. He nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in his mind. "I want to trust you, Emily, but it's too much. I don't know what's happening. I don't know who you are anymore." Emily reached out, her fingers grazing his cheek. "I know it's hard, Jack. Believe me, I'm struggling too. But we don't have much time. Something's coming, something dangerous, and we have to be ready." Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. "What do you mean? What's coming?" Emily stepped back, looking around the graveyard, as if waiting for something to appear from the shadows. "I don't know exactly, but I've seen it. The energy that brought me back, it's tied to something bigger, something in the stars. The aliens that created me, they've been watching us, watching you, and they know what I am now. They're coming, Jack, and they won't stop until they have what they want." Jack's breath caught in his throat. "What do they want?" Emily's gaze hardened, a flicker of fear crossing her face. "They want the power that's inside me, the power that can change everything. And they won't stop until they have it, even if they have to destroy everything in their path." Jack felt a chill crawl through him. "But you're human. You were human. They can't take you from me again." Emily shook her head slowly, her face pale. "I'm not just human anymore, Jack. I'm something else. And that makes me a target. A target for something far more dangerous than we can imagine." The ground beneath their feet trembled suddenly, as though in response to her words. Jack looked around, his heart racing. The hum in the air was back, stronger now, vibrating through the very earth beneath him. Something was coming. "Emily," Jack said, his voice full of determination. "We need to leave, now." But Emily didn't move. She stood still, her eyes scanning the darkening sky. "It's too late, Jack. They're already here." A sound, low and metallic, echoed in the distance. The sky above rippled with energy, as if something was moving through it, something huge and powerful. Jack felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The threat Emily had warned him about was real. It was here, and they were running out of time. The air felt charged, as though the world was holding its breath. Jack's heart raced faster than it ever had before. He looked at Emily, her silver hair shimmering in the growing light of the strange energy that surrounded them. Her eyes, though full of fear, were steady. She wasn't afraid, not in the way he was. She had seen something he hadn't, something that had changed her, something that had made her more than human. "What's happening?" Jack whispered, still trying to understand. What do you mean by they're here? Who's coming for you? Emily looked up at the sky, her expression tense as the hum grew louder. Her eyes narrowed as though she was focusing on something. Only she could see. She could feel it, this new power within her, and it told her that danger was closer than she wanted to admit. They're coming. Jack, she said again, her voice urgent but calm. The alien race that created me. The ones who took me when I was a child. They've been watching, and now they know what I've become. They want to control it, Jack. They want to use me, and they'll stop at nothing to get what's inside me. Jack's mind raced. He couldn't imagine how Emily felt. How could anyone go from living a normal life to being part of an alien experiment, and then coming back to life, only to face the same race that had created them? She had been a weapon in their eyes, a tool for their experiments. And now she was something far more dangerous, someone they would stop at nothing to control. Jack glanced around the graveyard again. The quiet stillness had disappeared. The hum was louder, coming from all directions. He could feel it in his bones now, the pressure building in the air. It was as if the world around them was preparing for something massive to happen. He turned. Back to Emily. What can we do? How do we stop them? Jack asked, fear creeping into his voice. Emily's face softened, her features filled with sadness. She placed a hand on his arm, her fingers cold to the touch. I don't know if we can stop them, Jack. They have technology that we can't even begin to understand. But there's one thing I can do. Jack raised an eyebrow. What's that? I can help you see what's coming. I can connect with the energy that brought me back, she said, her voice steady. I don't know how it works, but I can. Feel it. And maybe, just maybe, it will help us prepare for what's ahead. Jack didn't fully understand what she meant, but he trusted her. He had no other choice. She had come back from the dead. If anyone could help them figure out how to survive whatever was coming, it was Emily. He nodded, his jaw clenched in determination. Let's do it. Emily closed her eyes, her lips parting as she took in a slow, steady breath. Jack watched. As her body seemed to glow faintly, the light intensifying with every passing second. He felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up as the world around them shifted. The graveyard no longer felt like a place of mourning. It felt like a battlefield, charged with electricity, alive with the threat of something unknown. For a moment, Emily was silent, her body still as a statue. Then, her eyes snapped open, and they were glowing brighter than before. They weren't just her normal brown eyes anymore. They were like two pools of silver light, filled with ancient knowledge. It was like she could see the future, like she could see everything that was coming. We're not alone, she whispered. There are others, more of them, coming down from the sky. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He didn't need to ask who they were. He already knew, the alien race. The ones who had taken her. The ones who had engineered her, and now they were coming to finish what they had started. He tried to steady his breath, but the air around them was thick with tension. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were no longer in control of the situation. That Emily's miraculous return had set something in motion that neither of them could stop. The ground beneath their feet suddenly trembled. Jack's knees buckled, and he had to catch himself on the nearest gravestone. The tremor was brief, but it was enough to send a wave of panic rushing through him. The hum in the air grew louder, deafening, as if the sky itself was about to crack open. Emily didn't move. She stood perfectly still, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She could see it now, the ships, the alien forces moving closer. They were far away, but she could feel them, their presence, their power, stretching across the sky like a dark shadow. They're here, she whispered, almost to herself. And they're coming for me. Jack's heart raced, but there was no time to think. Emily was already moving, pulling him along with her. We need to leave, she said urgently, her grip on his arm tight. We can't stay here. They'll find us. Jack didn't question her. He didn't have time. He followed her as they ran, the graveyard slipping away behind them. The streets were empty, eerily quiet, but the hum in the air didn't stop. It was everywhere, a constant reminder that the world as they knew it was about to change forever. Emily led them to an old abandoned building on the outskirts of town. The building was quiet, its windows broken, and its walls crumbling. But it was the perfect place to hide. Jack's heart was still racing as they entered the dark interior. He didn't know where to go, what to do. All he knew was that the world outside was coming apart at the seams. Emily closed the door behind them, the creak of the wood echoing in the silence. She turned to Jack, her face pale, her eyes filled with fear. "They won't stop, Jack," she said softly. "They're coming for me, and they won't stop until they have what they want." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, trying to comfort her, but there was a sense of helplessness in his chest. He didn't know what was coming next. But one thing was certain. The battle for survival had just begun. The air inside the building felt cold and heavy as Jack and Emily huddled together in the dim light. The walls around them seemed to pulse with an energy that matched the growing tension outside. Jack's mind raced. The calm of the graveyard was long gone, replaced by a fear he couldn't shake, a fear that clung to the edges of his thoughts, like the hum in the air. He looked at Emily, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the darkness, and felt the weight of the situation closing in on them. "We can't just hide here forever," Jack said, his voice low but steady. "They'll find us, Emily. They'll find you." Emily's gaze remained fixed on the shadows, her face unreadable. She had known this moment would come, but that didn't make it any easier. The alien race that had created her, the ones who had revived her, were not merciful beings. They had no reason to show compassion, no reason to care about her humanity or the life she had built with Jack. To them, she was nothing more than a tool, a weapon to be used for their own purposes. "No," she said softly, her voice filled with quiet determination. "But we can't fight them alone, Jack. They're too powerful. Their technology, their weapons, they're unlike anything we've ever seen. If we try to stand against them without help, we'll be wiped out." Jack clenched his fists, frustration building inside him. "So what do we do? Just wait for them to come and take you? To take us?" Emily shook her head. "No, we need to find allies. There are others out there who might be able to help us. Others who understand the alien race better than we do. We need to find them before it's too late." The idea of seeking help from another group of aliens, ones who might have their own agenda, made Jack uneasy. He had trusted Emily, believed in her, but now he wasn't so sure. How could he know who to trust? How could he be sure that anyone would help them and not use Emily for their own gain? "Where do we even start?" Jack asked, his voice filled with doubt. "How do we know who to trust? We don't even know who the enemy is anymore." Emily's face softened, and she stepped closer to Jack, her hand resting gently on his arm. "I know it's hard, but we don't have a choice. The alien race that created me, they've been watching us for a long time. They've been waiting for this moment. And if we don't act now, they will take everything." Jack didn't want to admit it, but deep down, he knew she was right. They couldn't stay hidden forever. They needed to take action, even if it meant stepping into the unknown. The question was, where would they go? Who could they trust? Emily closed her eyes for a moment, as if listening to something Jack couldn't hear. When she opened them again, her expression was focused, determined. "I know where to go. I know who can help us." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "I can sense it," Emily said, her voice calm but filled with an edge of urgency. "There's a resistance. A group of humans who've been tracking the alien race for years. They've been preparing for this. They have resources, information. They know how to fight back." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "A resistance?" He had heard whispers of groups working in secret, but he never thought it would be anything more than rumors. Now it seemed like their only hope. Where are they? Jack asked, his voice filled with hope. Emily paused, her eyes scanning the room as if trying to gather her thoughts. They're hidden. They've kept their location secret for a reason. The aliens have spies everywhere, but I know the way. I can feel the pull of their energy. They're close. Jack nodded, his resolve hardening. Then we find them. Without another word, Emily turned and moved toward the door. Jack followed closely behind, his heart racing. Every step they took felt like a step closer to the unknown. Every shadow, every creak of the building felt like a warning, a reminder that time was running out. As they stepped into the night, the sky above them was filled with strange, flickering lights. The hum in the air was louder now, and Jack could feel the tension building in the atmosphere. The aliens were coming. They were closer than ever before. But they weren't the only ones who had been waiting. The resistance had been preparing for this day, and Jack and Emily were about to walk straight into the heart of their fight. They moved quickly through the streets, staying in the shadows, avoiding the main roads. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every corner they turned, every alley they passed, felt like a trap waiting to spring. But Emily didn't falter. She moved with confidence, as though she knew exactly where she was going, as though she had been here before. Eventually, they reached the outskirts of the city. The buildings became fewer, the streets darker, and the sounds of life faded into the distance. They were getting close. Emily stopped in front of a tall, crumbling warehouse, its windows dark and unwelcoming. She looked at Jack, her eyes full of determination. "This is it," she said softly. "The resistance is inside." Jack hesitated for a moment, his mind still racing. He didn't know what to expect, didn't know who would be waiting for them on the other side. But Emily was sure. And that was enough for him. "Let's do this," Jack said, his voice steady. With one final look at each other, they stepped into the darkness of the warehouse. Inside, the air was thick with tension. The faint sound of voices could be heard in the distance, but the building was silent otherwise. The shadows seemed to stretch, hiding faces and figures that Jack couldn't quite make out. As they moved deeper into the warehouse, a man stepped forward from the darkness. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes that gleamed with suspicion and curiosity. He looked at Emily first, then at Jack. "I assume you're the ones we've been waiting for," the man said, his voice low and gruff. "Emily, I presume?" Emily nodded, her expression serious. "Yes, we need your help. The aliens, they're coming, and we can't stop them alone." The man studied them for a moment, then nodded. "You've come to the right place. Follow me." And with that, their journey into the heart of the resistance began. The warehouse was filled with people, humans, some familiar and some unfamiliar. Jack felt a wave of uncertainty, but Emily's steady presence beside him gave him a sense of calm. They had come this far, and now they had to trust these people. The tension in the air was thick, but the resistance seemed ready. They had been preparing for this moment for years, and Jack could feel the weight of their resolve. The man who had led them into the heart of the resistance stood before them. He was older than Jack, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "We've been expecting you," the man said. "I'm Commander Hayes, and you're Emily. I've heard much about you." Emily nodded, her silver eyes focused. "I don't have much time," she said, her voice low but urgent. "The alien race that created me, they're on their way, and they're not coming alone. They have an army." Commander Hayes didn't flinch at her words. Instead, he stepped forward, motioning for them to follow him deeper into the warehouse. "We know. We've been monitoring their movements for months. We've prepared for this." Jack glanced around, noticing the advanced equipment scattered around the room: communication devices, weapons, and computers that displayed data Jack didn't fully understand. The resistance was ready, but Jack knew that being ready wasn't enough. They needed more than just preparation. They needed to win. Do you have a plan? Jack asked, his voice filled with determination. Commander Hayes turned to face them, his expression grim. We've been working on a strategy, but it's going to take all of us. You, Emily, you're the key. The aliens have been watching you for a long time. They know what you've become, and they'll stop at nothing to control you. Emily's gaze didn't waver. I know, but they won't take me without a fight. Commander Hayes nodded. Good, we have the technology, and we have the numbers. But we're not ready to take them on just yet. We need more time. That's why you're here. We need to understand what's inside you, Emily. We need to know how to use it. Jack could feel the weight of the moment. Everything was riding on Emily, on them. They didn't have the luxury of time. The aliens were coming, and they were coming fast. Emily took a deep breath, her eyes focused on the commander. I don't know how it works, Hayes. The energy inside me, the connection to them, it's still a mystery. I can feel it, but I can't control it. It's like a storm inside me, always waiting to break free. Commander Hayes looked at her carefully. We'll help you learn to control it. We have the best scientists and engineers. They've studied alien technology, and they'll help you harness the power you have. Jack felt his heart race as he listened to the conversation. They were putting all their hopes on Emily. He couldn't imagine the pressure she must feel, knowing that the future of humanity rested on her shoulders. He wanted to help her, wanted to make this easier for her, but he didn't know how. We'll start right away, Commander Hayes said, his voice firm. Emily, Jack, follow me. They followed him down a narrow corridor, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The walls were lined with old documents and maps, marking the resistances. Past efforts. But it was clear that the real work was ahead of them. The real fight was just beginning. They entered a large room at the end of the hallway, where several scientists were gathered around tables covered in equipment and glowing screens. The room hummed with activity as the team worked, analyzing data and preparing for the fight ahead. A woman, tall and sharp-eyed, turned to face them. Commander, this is Dr. Lawson, Haz said. She's one of our top scientists. She's been studying alien tech for years. Dr. Lawson stepped forward, extending her hand to Emily. It's good to meet you, she said, her voice filled with curiosity. We've been waiting for you. We know how important you are. Emily hesitated for a moment before shaking her hand. I don't feel important, she said quietly. I feel like I'm just a pawn in someone else's game. Dr. Lawson gave her a reassuring smile. You're not a pawn, Emily. You're the key. And with your help, we'll turn the tide. The next few hours passed in a blur. Jack and Emily were taken through a series of tests, their every move monitored by the scientists. They were trying to unlock the secrets of Emily's connection to the alien energy inside her. But every time they thought they were close, the answers slipped further away, like sand through their fingers. Jack could see the frustration growing on Emily's face. She didn't want to be a weapon. She didn't want to be used by anyone, especially the aliens who had created her. But it was clear that the resistance was their best chance. They were all in this together now, and there was no turning back. As the night wore on, Jack and Emily found themselves alone in a small room, the weight of everything pressing down on them. Emily sat on a chair, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. Jack stood by the window, staring out at the dark sky. The city was still and quiet, but the sense of impending danger was overwhelming. They didn't have much time. What if we can't stop them? Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily looked up at him, her silver eyes filled with determination. We have to try, Jack. If we don't fight, then we've already lost. Jack turned to face her, his heart swelling with pride. Then we fight, together. Emily smiled, though there was a sadness in her expression. "Together," she echoed. Just then, Commander Hayes entered the room, his face grim. "The aliens are closer than we thought," he said. "They've sent a scout ship. We don't have much time." The tension in the room thickened as the weight of the moment settled over them. Jack knew that they were on the edge of something huge, something that would change everything. The fight for humanity's survival was about to begin. "Are you ready, Emily?" Commander Hayes asked, his voice firm. Emily nodded, her eyes burning with resolve. "I'm ready." And with that, they walked out of the room and into the heart of the resistance, knowing that the battle for their future had begun.